May 10, 1940, 5:35 in the morning. The phantom war, the phony war that has hung over Europe for 8 months, vanishes in the roar of engines. Across the borders of the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg, the German Wehrmacht unleashes Fall Gelb, Case Yellow. Airborne troops descend on the fortress of Ebenemael in glider silence, while Army Group B surges into the Low Countries. To the Allied High Command in Paris and London, this looks exactly like the replay of 1914. They believe the main German effort is the right hook through Belgium. They are wrong. General Maurice Gamelin, the Supreme Commander of Allied forces, issues the order Dial. The cream of the French Army and the British Expeditionary Force leave their prepared defensive positions in France and rush north into Belgium to meet the enemy. They move with high morale, unaware they are walking into a revolving door. While the world watches the north, the true danger coils in the south. Deep in the dense rolling hills of the Ardennes, a region classified by Marshal Pétain as impassable for tanks, General Gerd von Rundstedt's Army Group A is executing a traffic jam of historic proportions. 41,000 vehicles, including the bulk of Germany's panzer divisions, are squeezing through narrow, winding forest tracks. The column stretches back 150 miles. Had Allied reconnaissance planes spotted this congestion on May 10th or 11th, a concentrated bombing run could have stopped the invasion cold. But the Luftwaffe dominates the sky, and the Allied gaze is fixed firmly on Belgium. Freezer 2005. The decisive moment arrives on May 13th at the banks of the Meuse River near the town of Sedan. General Heinz Guderian, commanding the 19th Panzer Corps, reaches the river. The French defenses here are held by the 55th Infantry Division, a reserve unit composed largely of older reservists with limited training. They are ill-equipped to face what comes next. Instead of waiting for heavy artillery to catch up, which would take days, the Germans rewrite the rulebook of fire support. For 5 hours, waves of Junkers Ju-87 Stupas dive-bomb the French bunkers. The physical damage is localized, but the psychological devastation is total. The terrified reservists, deafened by the sirens and concussions, are pinned to the floor of their dugouts. German combat reports note that the aerial bombardment acts as vertical artillery, paralyzing the enemy command network. Under this cover, German infantry cross the river in rubber dinghies, seizing a bridgehead. By evening, combat engineers have constructed pontoon bridges. The tanks begin to cross. A persistent myth suggests the French army collapsed because they lacked tanks or their equipment was inferior. This is false. In May 1940, the French possess more tanks and better tanks than the Germans. The French Char B1 bis and Somoa S-35 boast thicker armor and heavier guns than the German Panzer III and IV. The failure is not mechanical, it is doctrinal. The French disperse their tanks in small packets to support infantry, while the Germans concentrate theirs into armored fists that punch through lines and keep moving. Bundesarchiv, Militar Archive. By May 14th, the breakthrough at Sedan is complete. The French front is broken. This is where the Battle of France is lost, not on the map, but in the mind. The French command structure operates at the speed of the First World War. General Gamelin's headquarters at the Château de Vincennes possesses no radio teleprinters to communicate with frontline commanders. Orders travel by motorcycle courier, taking hours to reach the front. By the time a French general receives an order to counterattack, the German panzers had already advanced 20 miles past the target coordinates. The Germans operate inside the French decision cycle, moving faster than the defenders can think. On May 15th, French Prime Minister Paul Reynaud telephones Winston Churchill in London. His voice is heavy, stripped of diplomatic gloss. "We have been defeated," he says. Churchill, stunned, flies to Paris the next day. He asks Gamelin, "Where is the strategic reserve?" Gamelin, standing before a map showing the German breakthrough, replies simply, "There is none." The German sickle-cut maneuver now swings west, racing toward the English Channel. Erwin Rommel, commanding the 7th Panzer Division, pushes his men to the brink of physical collapse. He drives his division mostly at night, ignoring exposed flanks, turning off radios to avoid orders to halt. His unit moves so fast it becomes known as the Ghost Division, its location unknown to both the French High Command and Rommel's own superiors. On the roads, French soldiers are often captured while still marching in retreat, surprised to find German tanks waiting for them at the next intersection. The chaos on the ground is amplified by l'exode, the exodus. 6 to 10 million civilians flee south, clogging the roads with mattresses, carts, and livestock. This human tide blocks military convoys. French units attempting to move up to the front are trapped in gridlock, while Luftwaffe fighters strafe the jammed columns. Diaries from French officers describe the agony of watching their logistics strangle in a sea of refugees. Service historique de la défense. On May 20th, Guderian's tanks reach Abbeville on the coast. The trap snaps shut. The Allied armies in the north, the British Expeditionary Force and the French First Army, are cut off from the rest of France. The miracle of Dunkirk follows, evacuating the men but leaving the equipment behind. With the north lost, the Wehrmacht turns south on June 5th to finish the job. Case Red commences. The remaining French army, now under General Maxime Weygand, fights with surprising tenacity. At the Somme and the Aisne, French soldiers inflict heavy casualties, fighting for their soil. But they are outnumbered and outmaneuvered. The Luftwaffe rules the air, destroying French rail lines and preventing reserves from plugging the gaps. By June 10th, the government flees Paris. The capital is declared an open city to avoid destruction. On June 14th, German troops march down the Champs-Élysées. The silence of the city is broken only by the clatter of jackboots and the weeping of Parisians lining the streets. The end comes in a railway carriage. On June 22, 1940, the French delegation meets the Germans in the forest of Compiègne. Hitler orders the armistice to be signed in the exact same rail car where Germany surrendered in 1918. It is a piece of calculated theater designed to humiliate. The verified casualty reports reveal the intensity of the 6-week war. The French army suffers roughly 60,000 killed and 123,000 wounded. The Germans lose 27,000 killed. It was not a walkover, but a high-intensity collision where speed and communication proved more lethal than firepower. Jackson, 2003. The fall of France shatters the geopolitical balance of the world. In 6 weeks, a major world power, considered to have the finest land army in Europe, evaporates. The causes are clear in the archival record. A rigid command structure that could not adapt to modern tempo, a catastrophic intelligence failure regarding the Ardennes, and a military doctrine that fought the previous war rather than the current one. As the swastika rises over the Eiffel Tower, the continent enters a dark occupation that will last 4 years, leaving Britain to stand alone against the storm.